Welcome back. We are still coming to you live from Kakamega County, where the 5th Annual Devolution Conference is ongoing. And today we had the NASA leader, Raila Odinga, making a keynote address, sort of reaching out to governors towards improving accountability and transparency. And he also talked about how can counties create economic blocks that can further drive the devolution agenda. Before the break, I was talking to the governor for Bungoma County, Wycliffe Wangamati, who is also the chairman of the Trade Investment Committee on the Council of Governors, alongside Peter Biwott, who is the chief executive officer of the Export Promotion Council. And gentlemen, as we get into the second phase of our conversation, we've made the right points. We need to create special economic zones. We need to product development. We need to market our goods, but we are missing the link. How do we tackle the manufacturing agenda? How do we attract investors to set up industries here in different counties to spark growth?
Thank you very much, Angin. I think, as I said in my initial remarks, is that, any investor will come to an area and an investor is an entity or someone who is keen to make money. And if they cannot make money, then they'll not come to that area. So one of the biggest thing that we must do is that we must interest investors to come to our counties with a very clear understanding that those counties have a competitive advantage over other regions. So the competitive advantage is very important. Now, when you look at counties across the country, but more so countries in Western Province, I think the biggest raw material is because we are basically an agricultural-based economies in Western Kenya. That's Bungoma, Kakamega, Trans Nzoia, Busia, and Vihiga. So when you look at that, the only manufacturing or only thing that we can be talking about in value addition is basically industries in the agriculture sector, adding value in things that are basically grown in Western Kenya. So that's very important. We must, and I think I'm happy because yesterday during the discussions, I think the Kenya Association of Manufacturers have done an assessment of all the counties in Kenya to say, look, this is what is available in this county, this is what can be competitive, and this is what we have, and maybe counties should focus on those things. So it's important that we focus on industries or commodities that we have a competitive advantage as counties. Two, as I mentioned, one area that will drive this is creation of these special economic zones.
How do we do this?
I think I did make a point, and recently when I was on TV back, I also did mention it, is that the approval process of gazetting special economic zones needs to move away from national government so that you incorporate the counties in that approval process. Because when you allow principal secretaries to make that decision, some of them may not understand what is going on. Because special economic zones come with tax advantages that investors are looking for. If somebody wants to come and invest in Bungoma, if there's a special economic zone or an export processing zone that gives tax incentives, that will also give an incentive to that investor to come and invest in Bungoma. Very, very important to encourage manufacturing. Thirdly, some of these things that we are talking about, and I mentioned that manufacturing is driven by mainly the private sector. So the law on public-private partnership must also be amended to allow the involvement. Because yesterday we had an example of a Governor Owiti of Homa Bay. He was saying it took him 4 years to get approval for a public-private partnership. Now, this manufacturing, you may find that as counties, we have the land, but we don't have the resources, the capital to put in and set up a factory. So it's important that that law is amended to allow public-private partnerships. The fourth one that I think is a very important intervention, of course, we have spoken about taxation, unifying the taxation law within the country. The fifth one that is so important, and I think we can borrow it from Israel, we can borrow it from China, we can borrow it from India, is the issue incubation of entrepreneurs, helping young entrepreneurs come to the limelight and seeing them grow their businesses. That is an issue that we must push as county governments, but more fundamentally as national government.
All right. And Biwott, what would be your input in terms of deepening manufacturing in counties?
Thank you very much. My view would be Of course, we need to take advantage, as I said earlier, of what the government has already done. You can see that in terms of investment environment, if you look at the ease of doing business, Kenya has improved to be number 80th country in the world, and actually among the most competitive economies, in Africa. But that does not mean we do not have a lot more else to do. And that is why, as we move forward, if you look at what is happening, is that we need to work on ensuring, we enhance competitiveness. And that's exactly what the governor has said. How can we be able to work, further jointly so that we can be able to ensure that the cost of, doing business is reduced further? Because the target of the government is to see Kenya to be the top 20, top 50 in the next 5 years, and maybe in the next 7 years, top 20, destination for doing investment. And another thing which I wanted to add is that I've held discussions with some of the exporters, and one of the key values Kenya has is market access. When you set base in Kenya, you can be able to, do business with East Africa. You can be able to do business with, the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa and Africa at large. So those are some of the, incentives that we need, to take advantage of. And then there is the issue of subcontracting. What we need to do now, going forward, out of this devolution conference, is that a partnership between county, national, and the private sector, so that the SMEs can be given opportunity to subcontract to already exporting, big farms. I think that's a low-hanging fruit, because this is how to build the strength of small companies. If they can be able to, if we can be able to grow, the subcontracting, framework, then we can be able to, reach many of our SMEs, and we can be able to, produce more that can be able to, meet the demands that we always get from international buyers, so that we can be able to sell, more products. So our all of government approach, our all of private sector approach, if all of us can work together as a country, and we say, for example, this is, the leading constraint to manufacturing, and that is competitiveness. What are the elements? You look at transportation, that one has been sorted out. Issues of power, that one has been sorted out, but it doesn't mean it cannot be sorted further, because we can all of us think and say, what do we do so that we can make Kenya to be the most efficient and reliable supplier of energy for manufacturing? Now, how can we be able also to create funds? I want to, maybe to inform Kenyans that we have now developed what we call National Export and Promotion Strategy. In that strategy, there's a provision that Kenya is going to create an Exim Bank, an export-import bank, so that our SMEs and manufacturing companies, whether they are medium or large, can be able to access technology through that kind of fund. Because if you look at countries like India, China, they have established financing frameworks which are long-term, they are affordable, and they can be able to support expansion of industry, expansion of manufacturing. And I think this is now where also the government is going in this coming financial year. I think these are some of the plans which have been put in place, so that we can be able to see our, the question of availability of financing to be sorted out by a creation of even export development funds, like what Egypt has done by creating an export development fund which supports, exporting companies to be able to showcase their products out of their country, out of Egypt. And this is what we think that if we can be able to adopt this kind of financing mechanism, we can have more of our companies exhibiting, in Africa, exhibiting in European countries and in Asian countries. Right. And that's how we can be able to grow our manufacturing by enhancing exports.
All right. And Governor Wangamati, you've brought up a number of points, but how do we fast track this? Because at the end of the day, you have 5 years to deliver. If you do not deliver, you get to, of course, face the wrath of the Wananchi.
Yes.
But really, we are seeing some leading lights around manufacturing. We saw Makueni County, they set up a mango processing factory. We're seeing some progress in Nyandarua. We are yet to see a major poultry factory in Western Kenya, really. Governor, what aren't we doing right?
And before even I mention, I just want to re-emphasize the point that my brother Biwot has mentioned. The issue of financing, very critical. And I think one of the discussions, I think it came up that we must find a way of two things. One, training our SMEs so that when they come into the market, they're able to sustain and go beyond the incubation period of 4 or 5 years. Because statistics say that all businesses that are set up in this country, 90% die in the first 5 years. Not even 5 years, the first 3 years. 90% of the businesses die in the first 3 years. So it's very important that we sort out the issue of financing.
That's a very high attrition rate.
Very high attrition rate. And we must grow that. Now, countries that have grown their manufacturing sector, innovation hubs, and whatever you talk about, is the attrition rate is normally a bit higher. So the training, financing of those businesses is very important. Coming to your point, as counties, and I'll give examples of Bungoma County. One is that I, as the second governor of Bungoma County, I've had a lot of discussions. I've had a meeting with his PS, Dr. Kipto. I've had a meeting with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. I've had a meeting with Vision 2030. I've had a meeting with the Kenya Private Alliance Association, talking about what do we need to do and how can they help us as a county to pick in terms of manufacturing, because I believe very strongly it's only way of tackling the issue of unemployment in the county. As we speak now, we have a number of investors already. One, we have an investor who has agreed and we have shown them the land. We are partnering them as a county government. We are giving them land to put up the factory. And that is an investor who wants to come and convert cassava into liquid glucose. And you know, Angina, the liquid glucose that is used in hospitals across the country is important. So we will be producing that in Bungoma County. So that's part of the value addition process that we have started. That factory, the construction of that may start around August, September. We believe that in another 12 months thereafter, they should be ready now to start producing liquid glucose. Secondly, I've had discussions with Vision 2030 with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. I've also had discussions with the ambassador of Israel. We have about 100 acres of land that we want to set up an industrial park. We are actually in the process of applying for that area to be a special economic zone. So to encourage investors to come and put up. Now, as we do that, we have also earmarked as a county government to set up a milk processing plant to be the first industry within that special economic zone or within that industrial park. So we are taking very serious steps towards ensuring that in the next 5 years, as a county of Bungoma County, manufacturing will be happening and will be creating employment and will be adding value to raw materials that we're producing in Bungoma County. So the first two that I'm very clear about is the cassava conversion into liquid glucose. We have the milk processing plant. Of course, we have some investors who have shown interest already in the maize mill in Tongareni. So yeah, number of projects that are coming, and we believe that over the next 5 years, that will come to fruition.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me now get your closing thoughts, Biwot. As the curtains come down on the devolution conference tomorrow, what are some of the takeaways you go with? And what will be in your to-do list as CEO of EPC from the experiences you've gathered on the ground, and how do we accelerate this eventually?
Thank you very much. Maybe to begin by the takeaway list, one of the things I've learned is that we need to work very closely with counties. Within the counties, there are a lot of opportunities, to grow production levels so that we can be able to, get sufficient quantities for our exports. We are also going to work very closely with counties in terms of, undertaking capacity building and, certification programs so that we can be able to have majority of our people getting interested in the export business. Another thing which I have learned is that we need to strengthen partnerships. As agencies of government, we need to work with the judiciary, we need to work with the private sector, we need to work with, the exporters, even the citizen. We need to work with the citizen so that once we create that unified approach, where all of us listen to our leaders, and the leaders have spoken, they have said it is the Big Four agenda. The president has said it is the Big Four agenda. So the whole country opportunities shift to manufacturing. Opportunities shift to food security, issues of healthcare, issues of housing. And as part of our mandate, we will be creating awareness how these kind of opportunities can be able to spur, the development of exports in our country, and so that Kenya can be able to achieve, sufficient foreign exchange. And as a final word, I think this is it is a good moment for Kenyans. You know, the president has spoken, majority of our leaders have spoken. We must stand together as one country. And for us to succeed, if you look at how other countries have succeeded, they have rallied themselves behind their leaders, and they have executed. We need to work hard as a country, follow on the clarion call by our leaders and be able to deliver. Because at the end of the day, if I work for Kenya, I'll be helping to build, a better future for our children. And I think it is upon every Kenyan today to seize the moment and to make their contribution felt to the country.
Seize the moment. Governor, you have the last word. It's quite amazing how 1 hour can fly.
Yes, and I think it's a good opportunity to explain to the rest of the country what the conference is doing. But for me, what I'll pick out of this conference, one is unity, as the CEO has mentioned. And I think it has been demonstrated across the entire conference. As a country, we need to pull together. For us to achieve some of the things that we are talking about, of course, it's important that we move forward as one unit, as one country, as one people. Secondly, I think what has come out of, especially in all sectors, is the issue of ensuring that there is closer collaboration and working between national government and the county government of Bungoma. The county government, all the county governments. It's important that we work very closely between the counties and the national government. On trade, we need to harmonize the trading policy between national government and counties. Thirdly, I think the Big Four agenda is massive and very, it's going to transform this country. But also, it's important that the small steps that we need to take, we take them to ensure that we achieve this Big Four agenda. 5, for me, is as the governor of Bungoma County and as the chairman of Trade, Investment and Industry, I think I can only push manufacturing in other counties if I can demonstrate that it's happening in Bungoma County. That's make it easy for me to tell other governors that this is the direction to take.
All right. Governor, many thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, it was a pleasure as well.
Same to CEO.
Thank you very much.
Many thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And allow me to just quickly check on Twitter. We're getting some good feedback here. There's a viewer watching from Nairobi, Eric Njoroge, saying, kudos to Governor Wangamati. I look forward to the cassava factory plant. Another viewer here, Eva from Muranga, saying, good job, Export Promotion Council. Kindly, how can SMEs link up with you? Well, of course, you can see the feedback out there, gentlemen, and we do hope you'll be accessible and we'll be able to continue to drive this conversation forward. Well, from the team that made this a success, we say a big thank you, led by our director, Jared, and my producer, Diana, and of course, the entire team behind the cameras and even the people that got us to this place. My name is Abe Gina. We'll be definitely closing the conference tomorrow as Deputy President William Ruto will be addressing the delegates here, and it will be the final day of the devolution conference, which has been running throughout the week, and we really value your feedback on social media. Remember, you can tweet us for more and we can be able to engage. From us, it is bye-bye for now, but we leave you in the hands of our Swahili team, which will be taking over the next broadcast from this end.